Hello everyone. Today I'll be discussing how race, gender, and sexuality intersect through aesthetics by exploring key readings and media artworks from Lesson 6 Beyond Binaries. We'll look at how marginalized voices challenge dominant narratives, focusing on works by Michael Warner, Audre Lorde, and Lana Lynn. So before diving into those specific works, let's quickly review the backgrounds of these authors. Michael Warner is a scholar in queer theory, focusing on how marginalized groups use cultural narratives to resist oppression. His exploration of the African theater provides a unique lens on how black artists used performance as a resistance in the 19th century. Audre Lorde, described as a black lesbian mother, warrior, and poet, focused on turning personal struggles into political action. In her essay, she speaks about her own illness and the importance of breaking silence. Lana Lynn, an interdisciplinary artist and filmmaker, reinterprets Lorde's work visually, blending diverse perspectives to show how personal pain can become collective art through action. Michael Warner's exploration of the African theater in the early 19th century New York shows how art becomes a form of political resistance for African Americans. In particular, the soliloquy of a Maroon chief, performed in the African theater, critiqued racial binaries and the exclusion of black suffrage at the time. The performers used rhythm, dramatic style, and language to connect personal identity to larger political struggles, much like modern-day marginalized artists. Audre Lorde's essay, The Transformation of Silence into Language and Action, focuses on the power of breaking silence. She writes about her own battle with cancer and the realization that your silence will not protect you. This is not just a personal reflection, but a political call to action, encouraging marginalized communities to speak out against the oppressions they face. Her work aligns with the African theater's resistance by merging personal pain and social activism. Lana Lynn's film, The Cancer Journals Revisited, adapts Lorde's essay into a visual and auditory experience. Lynn blends diverse voices and perspectives, creating a collective narrative about illness, silence, and resistance. The fragmented and experimental form of the films mirrors Lorde's call to break the silence. Just as the African theater used art as a resistance, Lynn's work provides a platform for women of color to confront personal pain in a way that connects to larger political issues. So, for a more contemporary example, South Park is often known for its crude humor and satirical approach to social issues, and it hasn't always handled the representation of minority groups or marginalized communities with care. In fact, the show has frequently used stereotypes for shock value, often creating problematic or offensive portrayals of different groups. However, in this particular case, the show did something incredibly unexpected. What started as a joke about fan shipping between two male characters, Tweek and Craig, actually evolved into a more genuine and nuanced portrayal of a queer relationship. This shift was surprising for many viewers because South Park typically doesn't engage in this meaningful and respectful discussions topics, but Tweek and Craig's relationship was handled with such a level of care and sincerity rarely seen in the show, making it a huge and powerful step in normalizing LGBTQIA representation in mainstream media. This rare moment of authenticity reflects how even the most unlikely sources can contribute positive to the positivity of broadening these conversations about gender and sexuality. And random fun fact, it's actually the healthiest relationship in the entire show, even though it started out as a joke. On the other hand, not all queer representation in modern media strikes the right balance. In shows like Riverdale, queer characters are often tacked on top, existing purely to signal inclusivity. This type of representation can feel shallow and reduce the identity to just a checkbox. It mirrors how marginalized voices, both in the past and today, can be flattened when artists try too hard to make a political point without genuine personal expression. This contrasts the actual authentic portrayal in South Park, which, although absurd, evolved the characters naturally without tokenization. Now, looking back at the Harlem Renaissance, we see artists like Langston Hughes and Ma Rainey embracing complexity in their work. They resisted reductive portrayals of black life, celebrated jazz rhythms, poetic structures, and personal narratives. Much like Lord and Lynn, they used art to reflect the fullness of their identities. This artistic legacy reminds us of the power of authentic, authentic representation, one that moves beyond boundaries, beyond binaries, and beyond stereotypes. So, in conclusion, balancing the personal and political is key to authentic representation in art. Whether we're looking at Lord's Call for Action, Lynn's film, or queer representation in media today, it's clear that marginalized voices must be given space to express their full identities. When art avoids tokenism and embraces complexity, it becomes more powerful and a greater form of resistance. So, to wrap things up, I'd like to pose a few questions for you. How do modern queer representations in media balance the personal and political? Can you think of any examples that strike a better balance? And what lessons can we take from the Harlem Renaissance in terms of resisting simplistic portrayals of identity? I really look forward to hearing all of your thoughts. Thanks so much for listening.